We're back again with another ballot review, this time for week 10 of the Indy Ball ranking for the past week going into August the 4th. I'll be open and honest, this week was a bit tougher of a week to rank for the top 3 or 4 teams. There is probably about a dozen teams that could fill in the 5 through 10 spot, but the top 4 was really, in my opinion, some slim pickings, more legacy picks in that top 4 spot. With that said, and the preface given, let's get right into the top 10. We'll start at the top position, the pole position. In the High Point Rockers, they maintain the number 1 spot in my eyes again for yet another week. They didn't have a great week, certainly, but amongst the other top tier teams, they were likely the best of them all. Certainly about even with the number 2 team, and given the league disparity, High Point gets the edge. Reputation also helped them here, as much as I'd like to try to avoid using that in these rankings. Just a weak week for top tier teams. High Point maintains the top spot for now, but they are definitely a vulnerable one. We go to the second team now. It is Sioux City. The Explorers maintain the number 2 spot, but again, they didn't really do much to earn it. They had some rough games, particularly against Lincoln this week, a couple blowout losses there that rightfully should have dropped them lower. However, just again, a lack of teams that really jump up and take advantage of it. And the number 3 teams are biggest jump so far of the week. And quite frankly, you can make an argument other teams should have jumped even higher. Just the way I view the ranking is that it's a gradual movement up, and it takes a huge declarative statement to move ahead in those rankings, any kind of fashion that's more than 3 or 4 spots. That being said, Sioux City still does look like the best team in the association. They seem to be running away with it. Best team in the best division in the second best league. That's going to get you a high position, as is the case here. Number 3, Lancaster. They're a benefactor of being the 3rd highest ranked Atlantic League team from last week. Considering that High Point didn't move and York's falling down, Lancaster's able to slide up to be higher than they rightfully should be. But again, this is a situation where the top 3-4 spots, they was slim pickings. So Lancaster goes in the 3 spot. They still have looked good this week. They're doing the second half Storms routine. They're right in contention with the North Division crown. I like them a lot. They're a vulnerable 3, but they do look like a solid team overall at this stage. We go to number 4, and this is the highest rank we've had a Frontier League team in about 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now, really since Quebec got the 4th spot in week 6. It is the Schaumburg Boomers coming in here. Among those top tier Frontier League teams, nobody had a good week, except for Schaumburg, who managed to piece together a respectable record against respectable opponents. Overall, the body of work hasn't been terribly impressive, but it's more impressive than what was around them. They earned the right to jump from 6 to 4. A moderate jump, certainly, but one that they may be able to retain here, depending on what the teams around them are doing. Certainly. Going to the 5 spot, this is really where the decisions start to get tough, because there's a bunch of teams that could all slide in and around here. Long Island jumps from 9 to 5. I really debated putting them as high as 3. I kicked around 4 for a long time, but I settled on 5. That's still a 4-position jump from Long Island. A phenomenal week from them, although a lot of those ones came against Hagerstown. That's what ultimately landed them in the 5 instead of the 4. Still, they've looked very impressive. They're the hottest team in the Atlantic League. That's going to earn you a lot of brownie points with me. And I think that they look like the prohibitive favorite to win the North as of right now. Lancaster, who is ranked higher, is trailing them a little bit. And you don't bet against second half Stormers, but just sheer raw test of who's playing better right now. Long Island's one of the hottest teams in the league. That's going to launch them up these rankings until such a time as they come crashing back down to earth, and we haven't seen that quite yet. So we shall see how it all shakes out there. In the 6th spot, Lexington, they jumped from 10 to 6. Another team that's been very hot. Another team that's really fighting for that South Division crown. It's a real kind of who's right now. We're still in the crowded part of that race. Sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that should clear up, and we should have a clear-cut 1. And until Lexington is out of that positioning, they're going to continue to rise because they continue to play good baseball. Coming in the 7th spot is York. They have fallen off significantly. The play no longer looks like a team that's putting it in park into the second half. It looks like a team that is kind of scuttling themselves at the moment. They don't look like a quality ball club. They look like certainly a struggling ball club, and I have some serious concerns about them going forward. There's still plenty of time to correct this downswing. And like I said last week, a lot has to happen for them to fall out of the top 10. But this is certainly getting to the range where it's a conversation. Similarly, Sioux Falls, I sung their praise last week. They were in the 3-hole last week. They've fallen to the 8-hole this week. They have so much potential, and then they just don't realize it at times. And this is a week where it was a really bad week. They had a really poor record against not the top tier of opponent either. And you need to see more out of that team if you are going to be ranked highly. And this is where they suffer a little bit from being in the American Association. It kept them ranked, certainly, but it also helped that descent on their end. So coming into the 9th spot is Fargo. The Red Hawks have been very hot, arguably the hottest team in the American Association. They are rocketing up the standings. They look to be in a position where they may be able to make a play for that 2-hole. And if they can get that 2nd spot, they'll have home playoff games. I don't quite think they'll be able to catch the Explorers. I think there's too much work to do and too little time to do it. Overall, it's still an impressive performance out of them. This is a team that could very well be ranked in the top 5 next week if they want to continue their climb and some of these teams don't pull themselves out of a rut. And then the last spot this week was rather tough. It could have went to New York. It could have went to Tri-City. Both of those teams came very, very, very close. However, Gateway is going to take this. This is a team that, again, they were 5 last week. They've been climbing in weeks past, and they looked very strong, and I was singing their praises, and they have just fallen flat as of recent. It's been a tough stretch for them. They really need to pull out of this tailspin. So that is the rankings for week 10 of the Indy Ball ranking. That is for the week leading into August the 4th. The week leading into August 11th, which will coincidentally be week 11, will be up hopefully on Wednesday next week. So, and until next time, don't forget to play ball.